Greetings, people. My name is Derek. I'm sure you didn't know that, but yes, that's right. It's Derek. Nice to meet you. Here's the dealio. In this modern world of the coronavirus, we are faced with a very concerning enemy that we need to be aware of. It's called boredom. So, basically, that means we need to find ways to self stimulate ourselves. We need to think, we need to be more emotional because, wait a minute, hold on that emotional part. If we're too emotional, then we'll just end up kind of going crazy because boredom plus emotions equals, well, I'm sure you've seen it. I mean, people who are bored and then they get all emotional oftentimes go down a certain rabbit hole. And that rabbit hole leads to some pretty concerning things. Things that most people don't want in their life. So, how can we self stimulate ourselves in this current time where there's so much self isolation? And, like, for example, people talk about, oh, 3 a.m., there's spirits and the veil is the thinnest. Okay, you need to understand that all that has to do with is that boredom that I talked about is making you so bored that your mind plays tricks on you. It's like being on a deserted island for a long period of time. Eventually, the space between words of what people say starts filling up with extra stuff. Or you'll start hearing voices in your head, or you'll develop multiple personalities, or you'll think about performing rituals, or questioning everything that you believe, thinking that reality is a hallucination or a simulation or that it's not real because the border between what's real and what's not real starts getting blurry. Okay, you start dreaming while you're awake. And that's not good because there is plenty of stuff to do. Believe me. It's just a matter of finding it, okay? Now, when I hear people start talking about replacing the dollar bill, which had Benjamin Franklin on it, have you ever read his autobiography? You really should. Because the he's a very interesting man. He was kind of intelligent. I mean, he was offered a third term, if my memory serves correctly, and he refused, setting a precedent that every president, they actually made a law about it, can only serve 2 terms. So, I don't know about you, but when all of America's really bored, keeping Donald Trump as president for 3 terms seems like it would just get increasingly boring, okay? Now, that said, he's a cool guy and all. I think under the circumstances, Donald Trump seems less boring than Joe Biden. Joe Biden's kind of predictable. I think because of that, that's going to be the thing that sways this election primarily. Secondly, would be the stuff that came out on Joe Biden. And thirdly, would be uh, basically Trump has stated more values that he stands for that just so happen to align with America Way. Whereas Biden has seemed kind of wishy washy on a lot of stuff, and I think people like someone who stands up for what they believe in rather than just does whatever anyone tells them to. That's the whole reason Trump got elected in the first place. Because it seemed like Hillary Clinton was a puppet that was just being controlled, not someone who thinks for themselves. Um, and his tweets, well, that's another thing. It makes it seem like he thinks for himself because he's hard to understand. He says one thing one place and then puts other things out in another place, and it's stimulating to watch. So a lot of people follow that to stimulate themselves. The other half of America seems to be following, well, other stuff like witch trial type things. I saw a post about, uh, well, I guess it doesn't matter what posts I saw, because guess what Facebook is? Same thing. It's to stave off boredom. Same with a lot of the stuff you're seeing on Google. Um, I think a lot of the results Google is showing you, it's pretty obvious that they're not necessarily directed at giving you the answer that you looked for quickly. They're trying to keep you searching for longer and to feel frustrated or emotional that you didn't find your answer, depending on what you look up. A lot of times you'll find exactly what you looked for, regardless whether it's the truth, which I guess that's the point. A search engine's job is not to go through the results and decide what is and isn't real. Okay? A search engine's job is just to show you all the results that it can find on the query that you entered, whether it's true or not. So, what is Wikipedia's job? Well, it seems like Wikipedia, which is able to be modified by just about anyone, so therefore, the people who, if there's more people in the world who like are truth seeking and care about the truth getting out, and they know the truth, and they're quicker to edit Wikipedia than other people who don't care about the truth as much because maybe they're lost in their own delusion or who knows what, then Wikipedia is pretty darn accurate. But if that flip flops, you would see the exact opposite thing happen. So I guess that's what people were talking about, like teachers, who said you couldn't use Wikipedia back in the day. Because they saw that. They sat down and they thought about it and they probably discussed it amongst each others, and that's probably one of the things that they were concerned about. Now that so much time has passed and they've seemed stable for so long, it seems like people have kind of forgotten about that. Now, I don't know if that's even accurate. I guess a lot of what I'm saying here is just theories, ideas. It's things that I feel passionate about, things that are on my mind, things that are getting in the way of me doing more interesting stuff, like turning on this computer and installing an operating system on it and stuff like that. Speaking of which, what would be a really great distraction from the boredom we're all facing because of this coronavirus? Which, part of me wonders, could this be basically an ongoing battle of psychological warfare to try to get Americans to doubt themselves? Because if you're busy doubting yourself, your attention is distracted from standing up for what you believe in, which creates a loophole. It creates what is perceived by other countries and stuff as a form of weakness. And, well, that's not good. The last thing we need in this country is weakness. So are we weak? No. I'd say we are strong. And, like, for example, that's probably why I'm making this YouTube video while installing an operating system on a computer. Because, I feel like if I was just doing the computer, that'd be kind of boring. If I was just doing a YouTube video, well, I feel like that'd be kind of understimulating as well. So a lot of people would ask, if you're bored, why don't you just, I don't know, work or something like that? And the thing is, sorry, I must turn on this monitor. The thing is, that's because I'm an inventor. Okay. All right, let's change this to, I think it's DisplayPort. Yes, I, well, I'm trying to be an inventor, and it appears that I'm succeeding. I've made quite a lot of progress on a large range of different inventions. All right. However, yeah, what you're going to notice is this YouTube video is very scatterbrained and not very well thought out because I didn't think it out beforehand. I just started recording. I figure there's probably someone out there who is bored off their rocker and just wants something to watch that's not a pre-made advertisement to try to take your money, which is really boring and super predictable, which is why everyone hates advertisements. You watch the first image pop up and the first sound made by the thing, and you already know what the entire rest of the advertisement's going to be because there's nothing unique. There's no invigorating, fresh perspective. It's just a boring presentation with a predictable goal. And I mean, especially nowadays, we have a lot of time to think. We're not going to fall for that sort of thing as easily nowadays. You know, we see it and we're like, really? Like, how many times have you seen the same Steve Bullock commercial? Like, for all those Montanas out there. It's all I see. I've seen like 15 of those in a row. Like, I'll literally open a video, it'll show an advertisement, I'll close the video because I don't want to watch the advertisement, choose a different one, and go on down the list until I find a video that doesn't play an advertisement. And I'll go through 15 different Steve Bullock commercials. And that just tells me that more than likely the algorithm that makes that up is showing a lot of people that commercial, which tells me that that candidate paid a lot of money to have that commercial shown, which makes me not want to vote for that candidate. And it's not Steve Bullock, it's the other guy. Steve Bullock, I've seen him put out one or two ads compared to the other ones, the ones that are anti-Steve Bullock. So just based on that alone, I'd probably go for the other guy because, like, I probably would go for Steve Bullock just due to the fact that he's put out fewer advertisements and he's been less annoying. His name has been said a lot, but most of the campaigns were negative. But that could also have been a campaign tactic because if you think about it, like there's that saying that says any attention is better than no attention at all, even negative attention. Now, I disagree with that. Personally, I believe that just the opposite. Positive attention is good, negative attention should be avoided at all costs. Now, if you can't avoid it, well, there's not a lot you can do. However, I guess I stick to my opinion on that for now, because no one's challenged me. You know, I think a lot of people who hold these ridiculous opinions that we read about, I'm not going to name them because I haven't been challenged on my opinions to be confident if they're even true or accurate. But I think that's the deal with everyone. You know, we all have these opinions and no one's challenging us. There's no, where's the meat of reality where it's like, hey, and I guess that's the whole point of reality, that our parents wanted us to understand. That is the reason why they made it so people could be up to 23 before they got off their insurance and all this other stuff. I feel like it's because our parents recognized that we didn't comprehend that we're supposed. Sorry for the yawn, I'm not going to edit that out. Okay. Our parents recognized that we, as a people, have a more stimulating society. So it would take longer before we realized that it's falling into our hands to start being the people that create the entertainment, that create the new ways of thinking, that invest our time into making life enjoyable instead of sitting with our thumbs up our who knows what's and waiting for someone else to do it. You know? So those are things that are going through my head. Another thing is nutrient deficiencies. I mean, it's really hard I think there's two kind of things going on. You got people who don't have the nutrients in their diet, which, like 5-HTP, L-tyrosine, these things make the neurotransmitters that make up the mind, that people take drugs to try to replace, that just makes your body stop producing those chemicals, and then you become more dependent on the drugs. Well, that's starting to be a really big problem in the US nowadays. And I've noticed that a lot of people are turning into negativity and all this other stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's clear where I'm headed. Maybe it's not. I don't even know where I'm headed. If you've predicted it already, write that in the comments. I would love to hear what your prediction is. Like right now, what's the rest of the video going to be about? I'll give you a minute. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm bored. I'm going to continue. So here's the dealio. I had a dream last night, and it was awesome. So I'm going to post about this because, hey, who knows? I don't have the resources to make this. I'm not sure I ever will. But I know that there's someone out there who does. And if we made this, I think it'd be pretty cool. Now, I think it would take maybe some development of technology, but it also brings up a good question. Now, let me get started. I dreamed that I opened this box left behind by my late grandfather, and in that box was a device that said it was a portable helicopter. No. Uh, anyway, basically it consisted of 3 solar panels around the outside of it as a base, they were like about this big by that big, and a triangle, and it has a little bar coming out the bottom that comes out down, and you can grab onto that bar, and there's a little trigger that shuts it off or turns it on, and or maybe you hold it to turn it on and you let go to fall. And out the top of it was literally just a helicopter blade. So in the dream, I was running down the road, and I hold up this thing, and I press the button, and it's a windy day, and I'm having trouble running very fast, but then the sun glints off the solar panel and provides it with enough power that before I know it, I'm flying off into the sky, and I let go, and I start to fall, and it's a pretty slow fall. It's like one of those things that you spin, and it goes whoosh, and it was just like, you know, it was really, really fun. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know what? Somebody ought to make that. Just sort of like the idea with the chair that has the propellers on it that propels you to go fast and stuff. Yeah, someone ought to make that. That'd be pretty cool. Um, and then that's I think a paraglider wheelchair with swamp fans or something attached to it. That was pretty cool. But anyway, another thing, another thing. Okay, in this reality right now, we what do we have that's entertaining? We have remote control cars. We have board games. Chess is fun. Have you ever considered three-dimensional chess? Comment if you want me to make a video on three-dimensional chess. I think I figured out kind of how to do it. It's one of those days. So what's next? What's next? Oh, there. Why? Here's a question I have for you. We have all this time on our hands. You know how there's those speakers you can buy that are Bluetooth powered but also have a headphone jack? Get the one with the headphone jack. The Bluetooth sucks. Okay? And you got the circuit board here. You got the little battery on the inside of this box that I made. And I've got these tweeters on the outside. A couple regular kind of subby. These are from a TV, just a broken TV. I took the speakers out. Took the tweeters out of a Subaru. Those tweeters work pretty good. They're alright quality. And these are just the original speakers that came with this thing. Now, another thing is you're going to want to figure out how to modify the resistance and increase it a little bit. Otherwise, the circuitry will fail a little bit too quick and it'll have distortions and all that. How do you do that? Two things you're going to want: a capacitor. That'll make the speaker not get stuck in the up or down position and burn out the circuitry and battery that way. And number two, you're going to want a resistor in series as well, or sorry, all of this in series. So you have speaker connected to resistor, connected to capacitor, connected to circuitry, and it's just in a loop. Okay. Now all these speakers are connected to each other in parallel, so they're seen kind of as one speaker altogether. So you got this speaker and this speaker. And I think that would create a more dynamic range where you can hear the highs better. Each instrument can use a different speaker, so you can get more realistic sound quality, thus being more interesting and stimulating. And yeah, that's something that I did. That was a while ago. I did it with a buddy of mine. He's pretty cool. Jonathan, I think, was his name. It was kind of his idea. I think it was part of his senior project. The weird thing was he never came back and picked up the speaker after we finished building it together, which was really disappointing. I really was saddened about that. But hey, it's here and it's on a presentation now, so it's being put to use. Secondly, so this thing here is a box, as you can see, and it's got a LED that turns on when you turn on the switch, and it's got a single-ended primary inductor converter, and on the output you can connect various things to be powered by it. Here's some alligator clips. We got a little light, and if I turn it on, and then I can adjust this little knob over here with my finger, I can literally just twist it and the light will come on eventually as the voltage gets up correctly. Alright. And yep, there we go. We got some light going. Anyways, the other thing that we can do is this is also a soldering iron. So if you take one of these awesome soldering iron tips right here, right? It's not hot, I can touch it. You know, maybe don't lick it, but the point is it's not hot. Anyways, I can screw it in. You see this big red button? I can press that. A little light comes on, and this thing heats up pretty darn quick. Here's some solder right here. It's from this roll of solder here. And I will bring it close to the camera so you can see what it is that I'm doing. And it's not quite enough to melt yet, but here in a second it will be. Yeah, if you put it near your upper lip, you can feel the heat coming off of it as it heats up. Alright, here in a minute it'll melt. I guarantee you. What are we going to talk about after this melts? That's a great question. Oh, hey, look at that. It started melting. Look at this. See? Huh? Huh? Well, that proves that it works. It's a portable emergency soldering iron powered by a lithium-ion battery. The soldering iron is not regulated because it's already at the correct resistance that it needs to be at. When the soldering iron stops being hot enough to melt solder, the battery is dead. You can also pay attention to how bright the LED is. And it has a built-in light, so you can use the soldering iron while having the little light screwed in. See, so you got the little light, and you're pointing it at a project, and it's slightly slanted. Yeah, it's already low. This battery is basically dead. I actually might need to replace it. But the point is that it's a proof of concept that's functional, and it's versatile because this thing has a variable voltage. So you can power just about anything. It's just like a universal battery pack. Why don't we have those? I don't know. But hey, it's just another thing that kind of would be awesome if we made. I charge it using this little universal lithium ion battery charger. It's not one I would recommend because it actually charges it up to like 5 volts, and that's dangerous because it can make this thing explode. But hey, you know, nothing risked, nothing gained, I suppose. I was thinking about putting a amplifier in the other side of it and then plugging it in with the speaker here, but it's still a work in progress. So yeah, that's something else to spice up your day with something more than nothing. I mean, we don't have to go to war. Ow, I almost burned my hand. Case in point. You don't have to go to war because you're bored, which is where we are at. People are like, I'm bored. Let's get out guns and fight. I'm like, bro, how dumb are you? you know? At any rate, um, yeah, I think that little fan idea that I had, the helicopter doohickey, had super caps in it. I'm not sure, but I think it had like these silver cylinders on the inside of it coming out. It was pretty cool looking. You know what else is cool? These, when the batteries aren't dead. Shows how well thought out this whole thing is. You know what else is cool? This. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I've got a lot of other inventions that I actually won't say on here because I hope to make them one day, and I would be honored if I was the one to make them and not someone else. So that's what I hope to do. That's my plan. You know? At any rate, if you have any video ideas, oh, right. Somebody recommended I make a YouTube video on, like my last one, where I was showing that a lot of search engines are actually just Google under a different skin, so they look different. Well, I guess it's because the coders were probably just copying their code off of, copying and pasting it from Pastebin or something. A lot of coders tend to do that, it seems like. It's really kind of sad. Hey, hey, Refined. Ooh. That's interesting. It's putting out some interesting stuff. Here's some random words off of what it says. It says something about RAID 6, AVX, 2X, 2, Gen, blah blah. You know, I'm gonna have to come up with my own things, on my own way of debugging code other than this that's unique when I come up with my own operating system, you know? Because code lines, I mean, they're boring. Everyone uses code lines, you know? So we got to come up with something new, something fresh. And I'm trying to figure it out. What's a way of doing this that wouldn't, maybe it'd just be like math problems scrolling the screen, or maybe it'd be like images. We could do hieroglyphs each glyph means something different. I mean, when you got 81 options, I mean, the whole world opens up. So that's one of the things that I'm considering. At any rate, ask me a question, and I will do my best to answer it. Ask me to make something, and I will do my best to make it on camera. Okay. What can I make? Well, I got a cool experiment I plan on showing you guys regarding the powers of USB-C and a video camera. Modified an iPhone to have a much larger battery. I don't know where the case went that I made for it, custom. I cut the bottom out of an iPhone case because I wanted to put that external battery that you just saw on the back somehow, or maybe the front, so it would look like this. I was thinking that would be a pretty cool design, and it's deeper. Dude, what if we had like a full-on gaming computer with all the full capabilities of like the MacBook that Apple came out with? What if they took that motherboard and just put it in something about this size with the battery on top and some I/O, and you just plug a USB-C in one side, a headphone jack in the other, and boom, you have a little miniature Mac Mini. Why haven't they done this? Apple, hey, do this. Why are Mac Minis so massive when your MacBook, your 12-inch MacBook, has a circuit board that's like, it's like ridiculously small, dudes? What the heck? And it's passively cooled. That's brilliant. Everyone loves passively cooled stuff. Well, I mean, kind of. We need to come up with a LCD display or something like this, but each digit is colored and the pixels are smaller, and just in general, just a microscopic version of this that's the same physical size with like the same number of pins that also fits on a breadboard and has like a controller circuit IC that you plug it into. And then I think we'd be able to come up, us inventors and programmers and stuff, we'd be able to come up with cooler stuff if someone did that. Who knows, maybe I'll do that someday. We got the dip switches here. Now how could this be improved? I'm looking at this component. It has 1 through 8, and it's either on or off. But it's sorta hard to get to the switch. How could this be improved? You know, it's questions like this. This is how you invent something. You look at something, you go, how could this be improved? Like, what about this LED? What if this had a little microscopic circuit built in that calculated the amount of voltage between all 4 of these pins, and it automatically regulated so that way you could have, maybe not, I don't know. I realize my idea might be kind of stupid because you could just do it. What about, oh gee, I don't know. A better connector than this for electrical engineers. Look at this thing. I can't even get this apart. It's stuck. Which is good, sort of, but also annoying. And have you ever had the wires just come out of these things after you crimp it down like a mofo? Like, what the heck? Miniature Apple headphone jack with the 4 little wires coming out. And that's the boring stuff. Like, there's so many areas in technology where it's like, you know how loud iPhone speakers are, right? Well, all that sound comes out of this little guy. This is an iPhone speaker. Interesting. Amazing. What if we made a miniature, like, portable speaker that's like this big? A portable speaker the size of a credit card. Let's do it. Why not? Okay. Well, here's another question. What the heck am I to do with this motor? I've got all these parts, all these components. I've got all these inventions, and yet, unfortunately, it seems like I'm working with stuff out of the Stone Age. Why did technology stop developing? We need to get this stuff on track. I mean, this motor is this big, and yet it barely even puts out enough power to move an RC car, let alone make a helicopter blade. I mean, there's a problem right there. We need more efficient motors or something. Something that's size efficient. A motor that's small and yet incredibly powerful. So, we need to take the ideas of Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla and, Albert Einstein, and we need to take all those things and we need to improve on their designs and ideas. We need to, like, take all the stuff that they were working on and take it to the next level, yo. Like, you could have shown this motor to Nikola Tesla. You could have, in front of him, taken this little gear off, opened up these 4 pieces of metal, taken the bottom out, and the guts would have come with it, and he would have looked at it, go, magnet, magnet, coils of wire. I know how this works. Like, literally, this is 2020, and this hunk of junk hasn't even improved. It's the same technology. Why? Why are we not sitting down and going, not how can we use the technology we already have, but how can we take everything we have to the next level? How can we expand on the designs of Albert Einstein and Nikola Tesla and everyone? Why are we editing out the part of videos where it seems like there's nothing happening? I mean, those are the parts where the person's thinking. You can watch them. You can pay attention to the length of the pause. You can hear what they mumble about. But it's all edited out, and then you get this illusion that that's all there is. And it's like, no, there's way more. That's why I don't edit my videos. Like, because you could apply that logic to just about everything. I mean, motors haven't really gotten further. Look at the common day refrigerator. It's literally just Albert Einstein's technology without hardly any improvements. And then on top of that, you just throw on a LCD display that's powered by a separate circuit that's just totally separate from the fridge and has no bearing on its operation other than to replace a hardware knob that rotates to adjust the resistance. Instead, you just replace that with some transistors. I mean, like, but that doesn't actually improve it at all. I mean, why is it that these inventors come out with these technologies and they're maintained but not improved? Why are they not, okay, I'm beating a dead horse. Okay? But it's important that somebody beats that dead horse, or else technology never goes further. AA batteries. We stopped making AA batteries, basically. We stopped inventing that technology further. Why didn't we make a lithium variant, a rechargeable lithium variant of a AA battery that has so much more capacity that all other types of AA batteries just stop being made? Uh, I don't know. Maybe you can figure that out. Why haven't we tried combining the chemistries of different types of batteries to fill out each other's weaknesses? What if, like, at first the battery discharges the lithium and side, and then it discharges the nickel metal cadmium side or something, and then it discharges the nickel metal hydride side, or maybe it, well, lithium, or well, I guess lead acid is 2 volts per cell, lithium's 3.7. So what would go between lithium and you, anyways, you could create a stack of batteries that it automatically switches off. So when this battery gets to a certain low, it has a built-in protection circuit that switches to the next one, and you just have a constructed AA battery with a massive, not AA, but like other size, maybe like you could put it in the size of a car battery, right? You would have the different chemistries that switch off as the voltage decreases, so you constantly have a steadied discharge curve. And then when you charge it up, it would go in reverse of that order. I mean, I feel like that would be a pretty cool technology. Why don't we make it? Yeah. So there's a bunch of free ideas for y'alls. Okay? And then, ooh, haha. It'd be even cooler is if you have a inverter that you can put in any voltage between 0 and 25 volts and consistently get out 120 volts AC alternating current. If you did that, that technology would be very helpful. Like, do you know how many third world countries could benefit from that? They'd be able to just put up a windmill. Some days it's windy enough that it puts out only 2 volts, and other days it's windy enough that it puts out 25 volts. And they would always be able to get wall power consistently. It would take out a lot of the fuss. It would be useful for a car, as the battery's dying. Maybe it's too low to start up the vehicle. You're down to 11, 10, 5 volts. You're plugging it into a computer's USB port, which limits the amount of amperage it has access to a max output of about 20 watts. But 20 watts is enough to plug in something that is low power. The point is, it's a proof of concept. We could then work on making devices which are super efficient as far as power goes, and pretty soon you'll have wall ports that run off alternating current that's powered on USB ports. And then pretty soon you'll be able to take that out of the equation and go straight from one to the other. I think it would really help with prototyping and developing new technology. And then what about flexible displays? Boom. Flexible displays that you can rip in half and then put back together again. Bros, we need to do this shit, yo. We need to put this all together. We need to work as a team. We need to. There's so much potential in the world. If we're talking about war, all that potential gets wasted, and all the brains that could have been used to create technologies that help us explore the universe, to invent a form of time travel or teleportation or other things that you only read about in mystical novels. Like, all that we could be working on inventing right now. We have the free time that our ancestors only dreamed of. And we're talking about wasting it over arguing about whether or not some yellow haired monkey is 1/3 of the government of one country in the world. There's a lot of other countries, and why am I not hearing stuff about the internal affairs of other countries when I go on internet and I see a bunch about the US? Are we being censored from what other countries have? Are they preventing information from getting outside of their borders? Is every American aware of what's going on regarding those things? Because that could have a huge impact as far as what we talk about. Because if we aren't hearing the full story from other countries, but our government is, for example, because they go over and they have like all these secret agencies spying and stuff, then that would be really good to be aware of so we can choose not to put ourselves in a situation where we're in danger. Or if it shows us that there's another side of the coin where they are exact opposite, where then maybe we need to be more open. But regardless, we can't know the truth if we're all blind. You know, why is the government so insistent on preventing the public from knowing things? Well, I'll tell you why. Because there's a lot of people out there who don't know how this stuff works. They're so uneducated that they would see one thing, think it means something totally different, take it out of proportion in the wrong way, and other people who are intellectual would see what they say, not verify it, just be confused by it, and then hear something else from another source that sounds similar, put two and two together, freak out, and blow up the planet. Now, I don't know about you, but I would like to avoid that. So, what do we need to do? We need to solve this misinformation crisis. How do we do that? Scientific method, yo. We need to put together all the research papers on all the inventions that have all been done. This probably already have happened. I just don't know about it. Tell me if I'm just missing information myself. And we need to start talking about it to each other. We need to encourage each other to go out there, to research, to get groups of people together, to sit down and look at everything that's been discovered, all the knowledge that we have. And we need to work together as teams and put it together and have competition in the everywhere. And like start working and going forward and striving for new types of things in the world and like explore and bring people together and invent things never before conceived. You know? Like, if you think all that's capable of being made is limited to what's in, I don't know, science fiction novels, then where's your imagination? We have brains that operate on the same principles, and our imaginations are kind of limited as humans, and I think we underestimate just how much they're limited. And the whole point is to transcend what humans are capable of and go to the next level and do things that are beyond what we are supposed to be able to do, to go to a whole nother level, to explore the next dimension of information, dudes. Now, I've got someone who keeps telling me that crystals contain lots of information from past cultures when we used to have the technology to be able to disassemble them and store information in them, or they were a store like hard drives or something. I don't know. However, what if she's on to something? how can we know? See, that's the whole point. It's an idea. It's a direction. It's something. It's a creative thought. And those, especially nowadays, are very important. We take those creative thoughts and we explore. And we go places never before explored by humans. Well, that we know of. These are just my thoughts. I'm sleepy a little bit. This video was kind of out of the blue. I get it. It's not very thought out. I get it. But I hope it was something interesting in your day. I hope that you have a fantastic day. And to anybody out there who I know and care about, here's a hug. Um, I'm a 23-year-old person, and there's a lot in this world that I'm missing out on because I'm going down this path a little bit. And I'm not sure how much strength I have to continue down this path. I know I won't be able to go down it indefinitely. Every human runs out of strength eventually. But for now, I've given you this, and I hope you can make use of it. And I hope you have a fantastic day. Peace out. Have thumbs up on awesomeness, and Happy New Year's. It's not New Year's yet, but Happy New Year's. Peace out, y'alls.